Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. If your child has, if you've found that they've basically had a decline in their abilities, whether they've already, been diagnosed with a reading or learning difficulty, or they've always kind of just struggled, or maybe some of your other children who you never used to have concerns about are struggling more than they used to. It could be due to what a lot of researchers are finding with what's going on with kids in terms of their brain development and how their brains have been impacted by the stress of the last 18 months. So really what the research has found is that kids have shown a serious decline in their cognitive abilities, in their memory, in their processing, in their focus and so forth. They've actually studied even toddlers and found they weren't developing the same, and even as adults. I don't know too many adults I talked to who said they haven't felt the stress of the last several months and so forth. And in terms of how it's impacting everything from their sleep to their memory and their focus and all of that stuff. So let's talk about that today, talk about what's really going on and why it's really important to basically approach this from the right angle and not miss some steps that will basically just leave you really frustrated and your child really frustrated and discouraged. So it's really important first of all, to just understand how stress impacts the brain, and more specifically, how stress impacts the developing brain. That's super, super important to understand that we all know that has impacted us, and our brain is fully developed. Our kids, whether they're 6 or whether they're 12, even whether they're 14, their brains are still developing, and so that stress is going to have a more significant impact on their school performance, or it can kind of create impairments, or I don't want to say a delay, but kind of like that, like come to a bit of a standstill where all of a sudden they're just not getting it, they're just not catching up, because their brains are developing. And all of a sudden, when the brain is flooded with these stress hormones like cortisol and so forth, that's going to seriously impact their brain's ability to develop, never mind to be able to process, memorize, focus, and all those things that even we have noticed we're having a harder time doing and so forth. And so I know a lot of parents are really frustrated. They're saying, the school system just doesn't understand that my kid just can't pick up where they left off 18 months ago. They've had so many learning gaps. I mean, I think most of us have not had a positive experience with virtual learning. Some kids have thrived, but a lot of kids haven't. And, parents will say, I really don't feel like my child completed the last year and a half of school, and that they really just are very rusty to begin with because of that learning loss, and then compound that with the stress, and it's a recipe for disaster. And the result is that a lot more kids are getting more modifications on their IEPs if they had struggles. They're seeing, as you probably know, there's a huge uptick in kids seeing therapists and so forth. And all of these things are not bad. Seeing a qualified, effective therapist can work wonders. It's fantastic. But what we need to understand is that hormones alter brain structure, and that, it's pretty significant. Just 1 month of lockdown, they found a 22.6% increase in depression in children, and an 18.9% increase in anxiety. And they found the longer the lockdown, the higher the stress hormones, and the greater the decline in cognition, focus, behavior, all of that type of stuff. So again, we need to remember we have mature brains, our kids don't. And the part of the brain that we want our kids to that basically the behaviors or the things we want and the teachers want our kids to be able to do well, like self-control, memory, good retrieval, good memory formation, processing, problem solving, flexible thinking, even just impulse control, planning, organization, sequencing, all happens in the prefrontal cortex, which takes the longest to mature. And that is one of the areas of the brain that is most impacted by stress. So that is why we're seeing such a shift and change and decline, or a pause, if you will, in how these kids are being affected in terms of their performance in school. And so what we really want to understand is what we can do to help shift out of that. because these changes are showing up big time. Never mind brain scans and the research, we're seeing it at home, we're seeing it in classrooms, right? It's teachers are talking about, parents are talking about it, and so forth. So really what we want to do is figure out how to calm the nervous system, take your kids out of fight or flight, how to shift them into, you know, rest and digest, or what I like to call a more ready to learn and focus mode. And the first thing I'm going to suggest is right nostril breathing. Very straightforward. It's in my Laser Focus Learner starter kit. So if you haven't grabbed that, I'll post that in the comments below. But all you're going to do is you're going to block the left nostril, and you're just going to have your child breathe through that nostril as slowly as possible. And then they're going to exhale again, keeping that nostril blocked, and they're going to exhale as slowly as possible. The instructions are in my starter kit. Do check that out. Very, very important for calming the central nervous system and taking them out of fight or flight mode. And doing that numerous times throughout the day, having your child do it in class, having them do it on the bus whenever they're starting to feel stress is a great place to start. And also there's several rhythmic movements that your child can do, and I really recommend you try that and implement that before bed, in the morning before school, or whenever they're feeling stressed, before they start homework, before they have to do their reading. They're not hard. A lot of kids really enjoy them, and it's something you have to do with them, and it's a really great way to bond and relax together and so forth. So let me know in the comments below, has your child been affected by the stress of the last several, the last 18 months? I'm willing to bet they have. What have you seen in terms of changes? What is your frustration? What are your concerns? And what have you done to address it? I'm really curious to know what has worked, or what is working, and what else you're trying, and so forth. So thanks for watching, everyone. Please share, tag anyone you know who might definitely benefit from this. And if you want to kind of know more about how to further help your child, feel free to book a free clarity call to know more about my 6-month program, the Full Potential Formula. Have a great day.